Hi, it is Saturday, January 22nd, 2022. Wow. 1/22/2022. There you go, numerologists. Get to work. I ran a 5K this morning. Apparently I can still do that. Well, I walked a fair amount. It took me like 42 minutes something. But it was good to get out there and do something. Yeah, it'd be good to run more. That might be something I add to my schedule. I'm making some life changes after this weekend, or at least I'm intending to. Well, some of them have been forced. My kids, it looks like, are going to be with me primarily from now until the end of the school year. So it's gonna take away most of. I'm probably gonna spend most of my time at home because I have the kids. Probably not gonna be getting out a whole lot. But there's actually a lot that I could do at home that I've been wanting to do that I haven't gotten around to doing. So maybe I can kind of look at this time as an opportunity to get some of that stuff done. Stuff like editing my book and getting my audio book done, getting my ebook done, getting my poetry book done. I got some changes I'm considering on the website. I got a whole list. I got a whole bunch of stuff to do. I got a whole bunch of books to read. I can read those books. And I think it might be good for me. I think, it kind of forces me not to, go play poker, which I think is just a time drain that's just not a good use of time. No, I haven't been playing that much anyway, but I think even playing once or twice a week, it's like, those are hours I could be using, I think, more productively, and I think losing some weight would be a good idea for me. I've been experimenting with some fasting, intermittent type fasting, and then if I can start doing some cardio as well, I think that would help me lose some weight, and I think that'd be good for me. Yeah. I guess I have a couple things to say. One thing was, and sometimes it's tough because I don't know if I've already said this in a video, because I sometimes record videos and then don't post them, or just decide I don't want to post that one. Because there's a lot that I feel like I can't really talk about or say in a public forum, and that's just the nature of the world we live in. But I don't, I think I said in a previous video once that if you are pushing the vaccine, that you're culpable at this point, that I essentially hate you. Well, I think it's ridiculous. I think you've got some serious issues you need to work out. But I'm not going to say I hate you in the sense that I want you to suffer. As long as it's just talk, I support free speech. I think people who are pro-vax and anti-vax should be given a platform to speak, and words can resolve disputes if we listen to each other. And sometimes the resolution is we're going to have to agree to disagree. I think a lot of people are dead set on certain things, like the vax is good, the vax is bad, and I don't think that's going to change. But hopefully what can change is we can reach consensus on the idea of freedom, and the idea that each business, each property owner should be free to make their own rules, and that people should be free to start competing businesses if they don't like those rules. And competition is good, and it can cater to a market with people with diverse preferences and diverse desires. That is a great solution to that problem. Now, a lot of people think, oh, well, we can't do that because we need government to control everything. But they don't really understand that government's going to lose its control. And this is an economic guarantee. The laws of economics guarantee us that their power will go away, because their power is based on the power of the US dollar, and that dollar is going to go to nothing. It's going to become completely worthless. So the financial markets are starting to have a reaction to the Fed talking about raising rates. Not raising rates, just talking about raising rates. Not raising them big, just raising them a little bit. It's causing some of these high-flying tech stocks to sell off. You know, what goes up must come down. A lot of assets have been inflated with the asset bubbles that the Federal Reserve has created. And I hate to break it to you if you're a cryptocurrency holder, but cryptos have been a part of that, and they've been a big part of that. And they have gone up many thousands of percent. And you know, the original idea of the cryptocurrency, that you're going to have this competing currency, assumes a couple of things. One, it assumes that government is going to have power that you're going to need to get around in order to transact. And like I said, government's power is going away. Another thing it assumes is that the one you're holding is the one that people are going to use. Like, there's thousands of cryptocurrencies, and so you have to be very confident that the one you own is the one that is actually going to be in demand for that demand. And the demand that exists for these transactions to move money outside the scrutiny of governments, for as long as governments do have power, is black market demand. Meaning that people are going to want a coin that's going to be as private as possible, and as untraceable as possible when developing, or when choosing which coin to use for those transactions. Not only that, but Monero has already caught that black market bid. It's already the currency that is most frequently, I believe, being used for those types of transactions. And so a lot of these coins are just crap. They're just crap. They're nothing but useless computer code that uses a shit ton of fucking energy, pollutes the environment through producing that energy, and is the furthest thing from unique that it could be, because there's so many of them, and even if you create one that's different to all the others, well, someone else can just copy that code and create another one that's identical. Now, a lot of people think Bitcoin specifically is the one. But even if that's true, even if there is an underlying use case that will eventually materialize, and that's what people will eventually use for currency, that doesn't change the fact that it's still a market that's gone up thousands of percent with a bunch of cheap and easy money bidding up a bunch of speculative assets, and it's been right at the forefront of that bid up. So even if there is a base value at some level based on the real demand for this type of currency that can do what it can do, the valuation doesn't justify that. People haven't been buying it to use it as currency. They've been buying it to hold it because they think it's going to go up forever. They want to make the returns that people have seen in the past. And it's a huge fucking bubble. And we're starting to see that bubble deflate. And it's a market that can move really fast. And it's real sad, man. It's real sad that people, most recently it sounds like Max Kaiser, who's been a huge Bitcoin proponent, he says he's now liquidated his or he's going to be liquidating his precious metals positions and going 100% into Bitcoin. You know, gold is still gold, and gold has been undervalued by the manipulation on Wall Street. And even if gold isn't used for money, it's still going to have value because it's a real substance with real intrinsic value. People use it for jewelry primarily, but all kinds of decorative stuff can be done with gold, and it has other industrial uses that are less frequent, plus unknown uses that can be discovered in the future. You know, I believe it's the most conductive of elements, and that, as electronics advances, will keep a demand in there. So even if it's just a commodity that has no monetary value, well, it's still a commodity that's been suppressed through artificial manipulation. And when this market corrects, because markets always correct, the market always wins, dude. The laws of economics always play out. And it can take time for things to correct, but eventually reality is reality. And if you own a company and there's just simply not a demand for people to purchase the products of that company at the price it's going to cost you to produce them, based on all the subjective value everyone assigns to everything in society. I don't remember the first part of that sentence, but what I'm saying is things are going to correct eventually to the upside and the downside. And assets that have been inflated are going to deflate, and assets that have been suppressed are going to break out. And when gold breaks out, it isn't going to be a little breakout. It isn't going to be a big breakout. It isn't even going to be a huge breakout. It's going to be an outer space fucking breakout. It is going to be the asset that everyone in society wants, and is willing to pay fucking any dollar fucking price for. It won't be available for $, period, for some period of time. Because the market will fucking break. The silver market will break. The platinum market will break. We will need a repricing. We will need a start, a fresh economic start with a new metric of measuring the prices of goods and services. And at first, there's going to be a lot of guesswork involved because these markets won't have settled and things won't have gotten priced right. And the dollar value of things won't be an accurate reflection because the dollar will be so unstable. Because in addition to losing value, it's going to become a very unstable currency. It's not like in one part of the world, it might have a higher value than in another part of the world. It's based on the local supply and demand moving through that part of the economy. And it's going to require some innovative stuff to happen to start moving the economy, to start making gold transfers happen, and price discovery needs to start happening. You know, I wrote a book And I did the best I can to talk about how we can get that process started. But it's a big process. We're attempting to start an engine here from a cold fucking start. And it's going to require freedom, complete fucking freedom, to make this work. And it's also going to require innovation, and it's going to require the people who do own gold to be willing to take on a certain amount of risk for the sake of getting an economy started and getting an economy moving. Dispersing the gold reserve can be a great help. That's one of the things I'm suggesting. I'm suggesting a portion of the gold reserve. I say a portion we should send out to the states and cities because they're going to have issues they have to deal with. A portion we should send directly to the population because they're going to need to survive for a certain period of time, and that can also help get the economy moving by having capital more widely dispersed throughout society. If that doesn't happen, if the gold reserve's gone, which it might be based on what fucking crooks have been in power, it might come down to people asking for a certain amount of charity from the big holders of gold, whoever those happen to be in the world. Could you contribute 20% to this fund that we're going to use to try to get this as a one-time shot to try to get a free economy going, and in exchange we're going to give you freedom, and you're going to get to invest the rest of that gold however you want. You can build whatever you want, you can hire whoever you want, and you can do business however you want, as long as you're not enslaving people and telling them they can't leave your land under the threat of violence. There's a handful of other things you can't do. You can't have inappropriate relations with someone below the age of consent. You can't fly an aircraft without registering it with the Centralized Air Traffic Control Authority, which isn't, seems to me, a necessary feature to prevent air collisions. But, we can have conversations. This is, again, my book is just a beginning. It's just a start. There's a lot of industries, a lot of specified areas that I don't have the deep enough knowledge, but I can throw some stuff out there and hopefully get this ball rolling. Handling nuclear material, you're going to have to be willing to have that inspected by the nuclear agency that's going to ensure that people aren't building nuclear weapons. And no trespassing. If someone doesn't want you on their land, you don't go there, you don't trespass on their land, you don't vandalize their land, loot, you don't steal their property. And all of those things, I believe, should be enforced through a centralized, charitably funded force, where members of the donators essentially get to decide what is the age of consent, what is the age. We're also going to have an age of life, like abortions, where is that cutoff going to be? And also we're going to vote on, when we apprehend people who violate these things, what is the punishment going to be for that individual? And I talk about, I get into more details in the book, and I put a lot of stuff out there, and I think it can really help us out getting out of this fucking hole we're going to be in. And it's going to be a fresh start for everyone. And it needs to happen. We need freedom, and we need this gold, to a degree, is going to need to get out there, because otherwise it's just going to be violence and people fighting over the scraps that are left until there's no one fucking left. And who wants that? So, thought I'd check in, say hello, and you guys have a good weekend.